Welcome to Talking Heads on USA Global TV, starring the one and only wonderful Dr. JACALYN. It's a prestigious place where world-class influencers and experts meet, and where you'll find the most trusted advisors and coaches for all things in life and business. Visit usaglobaltv.com to sign up for our newsletter, get the value you need, and be first in line to learn about events and giveaways and other valuable content. Connect with us. Email Dr. JACALYN at usaglobaltv.com to talk about how you can become part of USA Global TV. That's USA Global TV, where the doctor is always in.
Hello and welcome to USA Global TV and Radio. I'm Dr. JACALYN KERBECK. I'm the president, founder, and chief listening officer here at our network. And our show today is The Listening Mentor. And guess who that is? That would be me. I teach people how to listen at an elevated level and certify them as such so that the world knows that they offer a safe place for someone to share their story. Joining me is a dear friend and our co-host, the star of the show, Caroline HEWARD. Let's welcome her. Hello, Caroline, the Harley Street Stress expert. Hello, good to see you.
And you too. It's been a few weeks, so I've missed you.
I know, I've missed you as well, and I'm looking forward to our topic today. Our topic is over-talking and double talking, which I don't know, is painful, whichever end you are receiving or giving. But before we get into that, do tell our audience a little bit about the work you do as the Harley Street Stress expert.
Well, I'm known as the Harley Street Stress expert, and what that involves is I help people obliterate their stress. And what I mean by stress is whatever you're complaining about, whether it's physical, ache and pain, whether it's emotional, whether it's mental, in terms of depression, anxiety, stress, or whether it's behavioral. So whatever it is that you're complaining about is usually your stress. Some people say, oh, I'm not stressed, but I don't sleep very well. And that's how it comes out for them. And essentially, I identify the root cause of your trauma. I offer a free consultation via Zoom or Skype. Reach out to me on my email, NoMoreStress@live.co.uk, and book in a free consultation with me. I've been in Harley Street since 2005, and I've been doing this work for over 2 decades.
Amazing, amazing. And, you talk about stress. It's funny. Today, I had to go to the eye doctor because I've been seeing these floating things, and I'm 59, and I looked it up, and it's part of getting older, but you just never know. So anyway, I was there in the chair, and he had the lights and the things that they put in your eye, something to push on your eye. And I was really stressed out because it felt uncomfortable. And those drops make your eyes burn. And I lifted my hand up like this, and he's like, are you going to punch me? And I said, no, I'm not going to punch you. I just am in pain. I feel very nervous. So it was really funny because I think he was really getting stressed out because I kept moving my hands. But anyway, all is well. So stress can be
stressful situations. Being in the opticians, I don't like going to the opticians. I just feel that I have to really psych myself up, to be there, because it really drains your eyes. All the different lenses they put on, and to sort of peer in your eyes with a big eye. It's right. The light. It's just horrible. I hate it.
It isn't, and my pupils are still dilated. And the funny thing is, there was no conversation about, hey, you need to wear your sunglasses for a certain amount of time. You shouldn't be driving. So I walk out, and I'm like, get in my car. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I should be driving right now. But anyway, it's all good. So apparently it's, I don't know what the word is. I think it's something it is with a V that's attached to something is slowly coming apart. As long as it doesn't get a tear or anything else, I'm good. So there you go. How do you like that diagnosis?
Well, that's like me saying thingy majig, and that thing that I was talking about. You know what I mean? That thing, that sort of, and And we don't really, but we do, don't we? We
Yes.
do know what we mean.
We definitely know what we mean. So when someone is over talking, we don't necessarily know what they mean. Or when they're double talking, something comes to mind, but I'll hold off on that. So I think it would be kind of fun, since we don't have a role play that's already been recorded, to actually have you and I do a role play on over talking. So let's just have a conversation about nothing, and then let's both of us over talk one another.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Here we go.
you begin.
Today's Friday, and it's an absolutely beautiful day. And so you can jump in anytime. It's a beautiful day. There are a lot of people coming here on the
You know
island.
what?
It's
I had a
interesting because
really
there
good
aren't
day
that many
too.
people as there
I
have been
really
in the
had a
past.
productive day,
And I'm
and I really
wondering,
get that
where
it
are
was
all the
sunny.
people? I know
And
children are going back to school.
and you know what? This is really frustrating.
Probably can't be working. It's exhausting, isn't it?
I just couldn't carry on. That's why I said, "Oh, and you know what? This is frustrating because you're not listening to me. I'm not listening to you." But the amount of times that we end up in a conversation, it's almost to get our point of view across. You know, and I feel that sometimes, you know, sort of you've got something in your head and you want to say it before you forget, or like it's important to say, and the other person's speaking. And this is where we just don't listen, because in our mind, we just want to get it out. And that's why I said, and this is frustrating. You know, I couldn't carry on because
exactly.
I can't do that. But there's many people that do have those kinds of conversations that really they're just not listening to each other.
I have to admit that I actually am guilty of doing this. Just the other day, a family conversation where my family members was saying something that it's a very sensitive subject, and I'm already highly emotional about it. And so I just was over talking, interrupting, correcting, all in like one sentence. And it wasn't a good feeling. I knew as soon as the words came out of my mouth that I was acting from an emotional place. And that's what happens, that we are highly emotional and things affect us. And even for me, as much as I am listening at an elevated level, I just lost it for that second, and I'm still feeling badly about it. So I feel like for people who are not even aware that they're doing it, the amount of pain that it causes to the other party is really palpable.
Well, the thing is, it does come from the emotions, and it also comes from a feeling or a needing to be right. And it comes from if you said something or described something that's difficult, and then the other person says, "Oh, you know, you should do this, and this person did this, and this person did that," and, you know, has like the solutions. You're not really wanting to hear the solutions, and you just want to make your point. But the other person has already jumped in with solutions. And so because you're not ready or you don't want to hear them, you will then say, well, I don't really need that. I know what I want to do. I know what I've got to do. And this is, you know, sort of how I'm going to look at it. And this is how it can snowball and affect you emotionally and physically in terms of the relationship. Because when you're both speaking, it's because you both want to get your point across. And it's all human. It's, you know, even I do it sometimes. You know, there's something that's happened for me recently, and I was explaining to someone that I was speaking to, and they were already in with their, well, you know, why don't you do this and why don't you do that? And I'd already, you know, I'd only just got the news, and I just needed to digest it, assimilate how I was going to go forward. And I guess I just needed to say, rather than have the feedback of, oh, well, you know, I knew that wasn't going to work, and I knew this, and, you know, oh, you've lost your money, and you know, you don't feel great to begin with. So that's why the emotions step in.
Yes, yeah, I agree with you. And I think the difference between us and maybe some people who are watching the show or interested in the show is that we're highly aware of when we cross the line, or we make one of these faux pas in terms of listening, and then are really going to be much more careful in the future. Because as I mentioned, just that one sentence that I said the other day, it's still kind of hanging there with me if I'm feeling badly about it. And I know that in the moment, I wanted to be right, but it was also coming from a place of pain, if that makes sense.
It does, because I've had a similar situation myself. And it does come from an emotional place of pain, because you feel upset emotionally. And also you don't want to feel wrong about it. But we are all human, and it's okay to have that that experience of, having a faux pas every now and again. Sort of the way that I approached it when I realized I was kind of stepping in and, sort of wanting to get my point of view across, was I just shut up. And I let the other person, I did. I just literally shut up and let them just say what they needed to say. And then I said what I needed to say. And it is a case of, if you know better, it's to let them say what they need to say, and then go in when there's a space to say what you feel is appropriate to say, because both of you have got the words right at the front of you to say, and both parties are wanting to get their point of view across, and it does come from that emotional place. But yes, I did literally shut up. And I know that sounds painful, but I just thought, you know what, there's no point in me trying to get my perspective across in that moment, because it's not working. So I literally stopped trying, listened, and then when it was appropriate, then said, when the other person was exhausted with the things that they were saying, then I felt that it was time, to say, say the things that I needed to say. But yeah, it's the hiatus of the emotions that make you both want to speak at the same time.
And I think for me, when I like to work out at least 6 days a week. And that one day, which is usually Wednesday, when I don't get to exercise because of my schedule, I find I'm much more geared up, and I could be triggered by something. It used to be Fridays. It's interesting. Now it's moved to Wednesdays. But what I've decided is, as a result, on Wednesday after work, I just need to be by myself for a little while so that I can take a step back, decompress. So I'm interested, for people who are watching or listening, if they have realized that maybe there are certain times during the week when they are more keyed up, or they are more even exhausted. You could be tired, and that's a trigger. Or maybe you're giving something up. Maybe you're giving up caffeine, or you're cutting something out of your diet. Maybe you're taking new medication. And in those cases, you could be more susceptible, more likely to just jump on someone, over talk, and just hold on to that torch that I am right. And I'm going to make you know I am right, no matter what the cost to our relationship or to my health.
It's really interesting. It's a human thing to want to be right, and feel that it's important to be right, to play that game of being the right and wrong game. But actually, it's not about being right and wrong, because in the right and wrong game, we're stealing or taking energy from the other person. So it's much kinder to almost not be in the blame or the right and wrong game. Just say your piece without agenda, without needing to be right. But we are all human, and there is that stuff that goes on. But, when we're not in that agenda place, then there is no energy stealing, and then we get our point of view across in a much calmer way, in an easier way. And I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying that when we're in a place of pain or emotion, these are the times that it becomes stressful and more difficult in a relationship situation, whether it's family, whether it's the intimate partner, or whether it's friendships, or indeed siblings, very good friends. We're in relationships relating to everything and everyone all of the time. I've even seen people get angry with a bucket before now, or a wall, so we can be angry, in all sorts of circumstances and with all sorts of people and things.
And I just think that a lot of the work we're doing here is to bring awareness to people, to each of us, to our behavior, and how can we take a deep breath, take a step back, pause before we do what I just did on Wednesday. It's not good on the path.
Well, that's why, I kind of felt that I was going in saying, well, it was just because of that, and I was kind of wanting to say, because we do, we want to be protective about our corner, well, we made a mistake and it's not kind of quite working out. And, then you're sharing it, your vulnerability with someone, and then they're kind of getting on their soapbox. Well, you should have done this, you should have done that. And there's no rights or wrongs here. This is human. This is, the way that we are being in our human experiences. Literally, I'm saying, genuinely, I'm a real therapist. And what I do is I just stopped speaking and it stopped me getting anxious and feeling that I had to justify my corner. And then when I stopped speaking, it gave me the opportunity to listen rather than to be fighting or justifying a corner. And then I felt calmer and more relaxed. So when you're trying to fight your corner by, even raising your voice, because that's what happens when you're talking together, over each other, nobody's listening. And what you do is you raise your voice higher and higher to get heard over the other person. And so when that's going on, it's almost best to become in a state of awareness, witness what's happening, and stop, disengage in that behavior. And then go into a place of listening to the other person. And then when there is a gap or a place that is appropriate, step in and say what you have to say.
Yes. Now, what about double talking? And I'll give an example. Let me just kind of think of this. So, where were you last night? Well, I was at my friend Joe's house. Really? I contacted Joe and he said he hadn't heard from you at all. Oh, which Joe did you contact? Because I was probably at the other Joe's house. Well, no, I called all the Joes that I know that you're friends with. Well, actually, I have a new friend named Joe. I just met Joe at the store the other day. It just goes on and on and on and on. It's like, come on. We know you weren't at Joe's. Where were you?
I couldn't get into those conversations. And I know exactly what you're talking about. I just can't do it, whereas I guess that there are situations, certainly in relationships, that can happen. And this is a form of control when the person is asking those kinds of questions. It's a needing to know or probing, because they know that you weren't where you said you were. And so then it's a fact-finding mission of catching you out. So that's a game that's being played. And the other person doesn't realize it until, it starts to pan out that they've been, I guess, caught out in a lie. They've said something and then they've been found out. And this can happen in very close relationships that are difficult. And, I don't know. I mean, that doesn't really happen to me, because I just do what I want. I live alone, so I don't have to answer to anybody particularly. Obviously, if I'm going out and I call my mum every night, just because she's unwell and there's lots of things going on at home. And so I call her kind of just as a check-in. And sometimes I run out of time. And so I'm calling her when I'm on my way to the tube station to go somewhere. And I know that frustrates her because I always give her the space. It's always silent. And then when those times that I haven't fitted it in, well, I'll speak to you later. And it's because she knows it's not comfortable, that I haven't given her that quality of time. I don't really, I don't envy somebody that's in that situation that feels that they have to say something that's not true. I'd just rather not say.
Wait, thanks for sharing that. It happens in business too. I mean, it's not just in personal relationships.
Oh.
It could be something as simple as, Caroline, you were going to turn in that report to me and I'm still waiting for it. And then you might say, oh, me? I didn't know I was the one who was supposed to be doing the report. Then you just,
yes.
It's like, it's on the other person. It's like the other person's the fool because they're not in they're not in the know of what's going on. And that, of course, can also damage relationships as well. So as we know, it's best to be direct. And I know we talked about how the British are direct versus the Americans are direct. And what's your experience with that, Caroline?
Well, you know, if we're looking at the Britishism, we're not very direct. We don't tend to say, we'll go round the houses and apologize emphatically for not doing something or missing something. And I'm very guilty of that because I'm extremely British. You know, that's the, you know, I actually went out for a drink with one of my friends I've not seen for some time, who's a musician. And he says, Caroline, you're very English, you're very British. And I thought that was really funny because it's the behaviors, the attitudes and behaviors of we seem to be very apologetic. You know, we're always saying, I'm sorry and excuse me, and lots of explanation if we've done something wrong. And to be on the receiving end of that, I would imagine, can be quite tiresome, because the person just wants to know, have you done it or not? They don't need all the story. They just need to know, well, can you tell me why you haven't done it? You know, without all the chapter and verse. So the Americans are very direct. They just need to know, why haven't you done it? And it's just a simple, straight answer. I'm sorry, I just didn't find the time to do it. You know, and that's straight. But the British tend to not do that. We don't like to upset anybody or say no directly. And so we go around the houses to make an apology when we haven't done something. And I would say that that's pretty descriptive of our British culture versus the American culture, which is very direct.
Yes, I would have to say that's true. And I would put myself in the more direct category. One of the triggers that drives me insane, especially doing 29 shows a week, is the technology piece. Well, I would have been here earlier, but this wasn't where I don't care. I don't care. I have a show I have to do. It's got to start at a certain time. And now this person is taking up all this time to tell me, well, the green screen, I don't care. Okay, I'll help you. Then I say, I'll help you. I'll walk you through it. But they keep talking and say, no. So then I have to become direct because I'm up against the clock and I see, you know, you're about to go live in however many minutes. So that's one of my triggers. But
well, I've been guilty of that.
I wasn't pointing you out. So I have to say that in other ways, I think I'm very patient and less direct because it's not about this work. You know, this work, I have certain things I have to do. But if it's in a regular conversation with someone and I'm not up against the clock, I'm going to be more understanding and more compassionate.
I did a consultation this morning with somebody online that was in Singapore. And it was supposed to have been an hour. It did land up being about 2 hours in the end. And he actually sent me a thank you email almost immediately afterwards and said, thank you very much. I thought that we were going to spend an hour together, but we actually spent 2. And he said, I really appreciated your explanations. I felt so much calmer, so much more relaxed, and I'm really looking forward to meeting you. And that made me feel that it was the added value, the extra time that I spent with him that he needed to have questions answered because he was very anxious, that allowed him to feel more confident and competent to see me and continue the sessions with me. And that, you know, sometimes some people need that extra little bit, you know, in terms of a therapy situation. But, you know, sort of the fact that he was very busy and traveling, you know, sort of within hours, and he still took the trouble to send me a thank you email, I thought was amazing. You know, but with both consultations that he'd had online, he said that both times he's felt genuinely deeply relaxed. And he said he's had incredible night's sleep since the very first consultation, which was a breakthrough consultation. Now, that kind of feedback, I just felt it was worth it. You know, I just felt, well, that's going the extra mile for a client. And they really appreciated that. And so then they're coming back for more because there was something in there that they weren't expecting. And that's what I like to do, the element of surprise, the element of what I would call over deliver. And he took 15 minutes before he arrived. He says, I'll be there between 10 and 10:15. And he arrived at 10:15. And even though that was frustrating, I had to be ready and waiting before 10 o'clock with everything, set up. And so I set up quite a long time before, because the tech takes time sometimes. It does updates. And I've noticed that and realized that. So I don't just set up 5 minutes, 10 minutes before I'm due. I'm already setting up at least an hour to 2 hours before I'm due to do anything online, because the tech's the tech. And I feel that in this current climate of working online and working with the technology, it's important to allow those kinds of allowances for time to be timely and to work in the way that we're working today. And yes, I agree with you. I don't believe we should be giving excuses. And at the same time, when you've been in the throes of doing something and you're caught up in your mind with that stressful situation. So I understand how it happens.
Yes, I understand how it happens as well. And I don't think it's about calling anyone out. It's just about getting to where we have to be to get the work done.
I prefer somebody to come ready. I take the time to be ready. I make sure that the light's right and everything works, and a lot of our work now is online. A lot of our meetings are online, whatever we're doing, so the technology has to be right. Otherwise, it's like arriving to a meeting 15 minutes late. We wouldn't do that in our everyday life. So why would we do it online? And yet we do seem to have that little bit of a place where people are late just because they didn't allow enough time to be ready to set up.
Yes, exactly. And I think also something that happens is when we're not familiar with something, we automatically, like, for example, me and the eye doctor today, I had no idea what was going to be happening. And he didn't tell me, he didn't set the stage for what to expect during the appointment. And had he done that, I think I would have been more comfortable. So many times that's also part of the reason is people don't know what to expect, and they want to deliver. They want to do what's expected, but they're not sure what's expected, and they don't ask. And then they wait to the last minute, and it's kind of like, oh, now I'm showing up to this meeting with this bag of bricks that I'm going to keep talking about. Hi, I'm late. Here's my bag of bricks. We already know you're late, and we don't care about the bag of bricks. So please just mute yourself and get into a frame of mind where you're open and ready to listen and learn.
It's interesting though, isn't it? Because this can be in any aspect, not just kind of, in kind of the broadcast that we're at now, sort of in any meetings, there's so much meeting and consultations and work done online now that our working day has been very much moved from going into the office or going to see a client to actually meeting them online. And so all that preparation that we would do to prepare to get to a meeting on time in terms of travel, we've got the same situation online. And so, yes, we do find that maybe because it's quite different, we have been at it now for 2.5 years. So I think that, a lot of people are getting more home to it, and a lot of people are, almost forgiving as well, and then I've seen some other organizations that are really on the ball. They say they're starting at 6:30 and they're starting. And if the audience isn't there, it doesn't matter. They've got an online audience. So if the face-to-face isn't there, they don't care. They're just on, they're on the button. And I feel that that's, setting a standard of, how we go forward. So this online working has created some stresses for many people in terms of their changes of the way that they're adapting and how they're behaving online as well. I've seen some people that are almost kind of quite sloppy and, sort of having almost their lunch while they're, online, and having their coffee and slurping and all the rest of it.
It's so funny you say that. I'm actually thinking of implementing a dress code on this platform. I have some people showing up in sweat clothes. No, we're not jogging. We're not at the gym. It's like, no. But yeah, people just, they take it to another level. And I'm also surprised of what people's backgrounds look like. I know you go to a lot of trouble to have the background that you have, which is what I really request. And it looks great because there's no distractions. But people have all kinds of things in their background. And it really leads you to make an impression about someone, whether it's right or wrong. It's kind of like, oh, well, they're a slob, or oh, look what's on that bookshelf they have there. It's just all kinds of things that the eye's drawn into that we don't need to know, that have nothing to do with the work or whatever's being discussed in the meeting. But people don't think about that. They just think, hey, we turn on this computer, jump into this Zoom or StreamYard, whatever it is, and show up. But you wouldn't just show up like that in a face-to-face meeting, I don't think.
That's right. And these are things that are really interesting to discuss, because they're behaviors in our changed world and our changed environment. What is acceptable, what's not acceptable. That I've seen some memes of people that have come to work. They've been told to come to work in their clothes that they would wear for their Skype or their Zoom calls. And so they're wearing a jacket and a tie and a shirt. And underneath, they're wearing joggers, shorts, long johns, they're just wearing, and slippers, and it's just to make a mockery, and fun of the fact that as long as the top is okay, it doesn't matter what's going on underneath, and this is, sort of a skit on that, really, that when you're dressed and you're looking in the right way for your Zoom or your conference call, then you're dressed and the behavior changes. So yes, I've had some interesting calls with people that have seriously not attended to their dress code. And I've even had a meeting with somebody that was drinking from a huge coffee mug, and they got toast on the side. And I just said, well, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to disturb your breakfast. This is what happens, isn't it? It's kind of really, because we've still got to find that adjustment of being online at home versus coming to the office and being appropriate. And I think that those kinds of behaviors and expectations will come with time.
Yes, you brought up another trigger of mine, which is when someone is on this platform and they're drinking or eating during their interview. And I'm thinking, why for 40 minutes you can't put your drink down or your food down so that we can just focus on you? Now we're wondering, like, what is in that cup, or is there alcohol in there because you're acting so strange? It's just like questions that, do you put cream in your coffee? I don't know, but I just feel like, just be aware of how you're showing up. Something kind of funny, as you're talking about having something on the top or the bottom. I'm 99% of the time I'm wearing a dress. I have a dress on right now today, and I'm in my socks, which is what I'm usually in. Socks or sneakers. And today I had to go to the eye doctor, as I mentioned. And so I thought, well, I'm going to have to put on a pair of heels. And I don't wear heels anymore. I have beautiful shoes, but I don't wear them anymore because I'm not going anywhere. So I put the shoes on, and we have all these steps in this house. I'm thinking, okay, this is not happening. I'll put them on downstairs. Then I have to go down the steps to get in the garage. So anyway, get to the doctor's office. And, I've only walked a few steps because I got from the garage to the car, and now the car to the office. So afterwards, with my eyes, the way they were, I had to stop at the store, pick up a few things. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I can't even walk in these shoes anymore. I have this mask on, these giant glasses, and these high-heeled shoes, and I'm walking around like ridiculous. And not to mention, I had mascara on. It was all down my face with that yellow stuff, that there's drops. I didn't even know that. I got home, I was like, oh my gosh, I really look like a freak. But the point is, if something that was I was so used to wearing high heels all the time that my arch was like this, now it's like this, that that's a big change for a lot of people, how you dress. And I still get dressed up. I can't have my eye makeup on now because of what happened, but I still like to show up. You show up professionally, but people just don't. I don't know. I'm not judging them. It's just when you're putting something out in the public domain that's going to be there forever, don't you want to look your best?
Do you know, sometimes I believe it's because some people don't think. I don't believe that they're doing it deliberately. I believe that it's probably not something they've thought about. And so I see a lot of Facebook Lives where people sometimes are walking and there's a lot of noise in the background, like wind, and it's very distracting. But the person is, in their moment and they're doing their Facebook Live and the content's interesting, but the distraction of the wind and the sound, the background noise, is distracting from their content. And I think some people are not thinking or aware. One of the things that I do is I close all the windows, even if it's steaming hot. I close all the windows so there is no noise from outside. And I make sure that I have a blank wall and I've got the lighting all right. And, sort of if it's sunny during the morning part of the day, then I will draw the curtains so the sun doesn't shine. But, these are things that I'm thinking about because I have awareness of those types of things in terms of my setup. But a lot of people aren't thinking about those things and they just kind of get on and not realizing. And I believe it's not that they're being sloppy. I just believe that they're probably not thinking.
Mm-hmm. I would say so. I think also people are so much more comfortable on video. I would say in general, not everyone is, but and it's almost like it's a phone call. But if you were going to have a phone call for work, you're not going to just pick up the phone. You're going to do some research or think about what it is you're going to discuss, I would think. And it's the same kind of thing when you're doing an interview, whether it's a podcast where we're just listening or if it's a video. I think it's the same thing.
I agree. I totally agree with you. And I would, I'm lucky that I'm very versed. I'm really comfortable with my content. And, we come together and usually I've got no idea where the interview is going to go. And I'm comfortable with that because I'm really comfortable with what I do and my content. And it works. But there are some people that are looking at their notes or needing to catch a book or something, whereas, and it's about their comfortability of their subject matter. And, I would say that's what it comes down to. So for me, we could just shoot the breeze. You could ask me most things and I will be okay. And if I don't know, which is, I don't think I've ever said I don't know. It just works. And that's the comfortability of an expert, of somebody that's really rehearsed and versed in their field. So when you're working with professional experts that are, experienced and experts in their field, it's very easy. You can ask them anything. But when you're working with people that only have a specific window of expertise, then if you slightly deviate, they're flailing because they're not quite sure how to answer you. I've certainly seen that on live podcasts and broadcasts where people have sort of felt that they don't know what to say. And so they're kind of erring and burring and, sort of, I'm not sure what you mean. And it comes out, it really comes across. And it's uncomfortable to watch, I have to say.
Yes, it's definitely uncomfortable to watch. And to your point, I have my Talking Heads episode that I'm doing right after this, and I will go and change. I will wear business attire. I'm talking about how to start a business in the United States. So it's interesting, to your other point, my family and I were watching my last Talking Heads about how to start a business, decisions and commitments. And my brother-in-law said to me, "You have no notes? like, where's this coming from? I said, I have 2 businesses. I know how to start a business. So I don't need any notes. I'm coming from my experience. He's like, you're really credible. I'm like, thank you. That's because I've done it. I've lived it. I'm living it. I know what it entails. So therefore, I'm hopefully coming across as an expert because it's something I'm very familiar with, that I've done a lot of research on.
It's horses for courses, isn't it? If you want to have a tight, window to get lots of content in, you might need the prompts or the PowerPoint presentation so that other people have got it, so for afterwards. And at the same time, it's really good to be flowing as well. So I think there's, room for both, to have, the PowerPoint with some bullets and the free flowing conversation over them. And it's style. It's what feels comfortable, for each person and their comfortability in terms of their presentation. I much prefer not to have a PowerPoint presentation, because once I get going, I can just get going. But then if I do that, I lose track of time. so a PowerPoint presentation keeps a bit more timely, so I know where I'm going with my time. But it's something that's certainly when you're presenting, it's what feels comfortable for each presenter and their style.
Caroline, once again, I'm speechless about how quickly the time goes by.
Me too. I've just looked at the time. Wow. What goes on with us?
Another great conversation. How can people reach out to you? Your services are amazing. You are the expert helping people bust their stress. What do they need to know to contact you?
If you have any stress that's going on for you, whether it be something that you're complaining about, like a relationship or a bereavement or a situation in your workplace, or a physical ache and pain, like knee pain, back pain, sleep problems, whatever it is that's causing you your stress. And you might not even use the words "I'm stressed." It might just be "I'm just not sleeping." And that will be how your stress is manifesting. I can literally help you bust your stress by identifying the root cause of your presenting symptom. And you won't have to work through it. You tell me what your symptom is, and then I will work with you from that. I don't need any notes, and I will genuinely help you bust through that symptom and identify root cause. You can reach me on NoMoreStress at live.co.uk and book in a free 30-minute consultation. I've been working with chakra psychology for 22 years, and there's not a lot that I don't know that I have to look up. And so please take advantage of that free consultation. It's on Zoom or Skype, whatever's easiest for you, but we need to schedule that in. So reach out on NoMoreStress at live.co.uk and let's book in and bust your stress.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, my dear friends. I am excited to continue this opportunity with you as we're providing more information. We're coming to our fall schedule, and I know you're going to be joining us for a few episodes of Talking Heads as well. So that'll be coming up shortly too.
Yes, it's all exciting. I've got a lot of work to do.
Well, that's all for now, folks. We are signing off. And as I mentioned, I'll be coming back with my Talking Heads episode, and then we will be presenting Pet Psychic Amina for the Psychic Show. So thank you so much for being here. Carolyn and I will be back next week. Until then, take care of yourselves. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.